Right. So I'm Brother Kwame. I would like to welcome all of you to today's discussion on labor skills and productivity. An interesting dimension considering what is happening on the continent, both from north to from Cairo to Cape. So we shall be discussing that. So welcome. I'd like to welcome you all. Our chair for today is Brother Ifo Aikidi. One of our most dynamic brothers is going to be chairing for us today. So I'd like to welcome you all. In fact, all our brothers in our CSG are very, very dynamic. So I'd like to welcome you all one at a time. Welcome, Congo Bongo. I'm not sure I've met you before, but welcome anyway. Welcome, Joy. Welcome, Sister Portia. Welcome in Judika. It's good to see you again. You haven't been with us for a while. Good to see you. Welcome, General. Welcome, Brother Pigeon, our head of administration. And a candidate for the coming elections in Kenya. Very important brother in our midst. Sister Ida, who chaired last week's session, and welcome, Brother. I say Ifo Aikidi, but here is Ifo. And then I said I am Brother Kwame. And then we'd like to welcome those who will join us on YouTube, where we upload our sessions. We've been doing that since COVID, when we moved online from meeting face-to-face in Clapham, in London. Yes, Sister Ida, you have your hand up. Let me come in, and then I'll hand over to Brother Ifo. Thank you.
Okay. Please, can you explain what the AI companion bit is? Because
what the AI? Sorry,
it says AI. Something to do with AI when you put on the recording, and it says other people can transmit or something. I'm not quite sure. I was wondering if you could tell us about it.
Let me check that.
Thank you.
So
I think it's a feature of Zoom.
Yes, go on, Brother Ifo.
It's a feature of Zoom that does a summary of the meeting.
It what? Sorry, I didn't get that, Brother Ifo.
It summarizes the meeting. That's my understanding.
Okay, I haven't enabled it. So it says enable AI companion.
I think it's on my account, so it might come on automatically.
If you, Professor Kwame, if you enable it, then it stops the recording from a meeting we had. I looked into it, and it seems to be automatic now. When it was stopped, King Brother Pigeon kindly stopped it for one of our meetings, separate from this, and I could not record, and I was a co-host. So just a FYI.
Right. Not sure I understand what you're saying, Sister Portia. But
I can explain. When you turn on, it's a new feature of Zoom. So when you turn on recording, it also enables the AI so that you have a summary of the meeting that happened.
Right. And you said that is automatic, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Right. Okay. So thank you, Sister Portia. Thank you, Brother Ifo. I'm going to hand over now to Brother Ifo. Sister Portia is going to give us the geopolitical analysis for about 15 minutes. Tell us what is happening in the world. It's an objective analysis, not so much what she personally thinks, but what is happening in the world. And then she will then share that with us and give her then her view of what she thinks where Africa is going. Where is Africa going? Given that we were supporting Mexico in the last match, are we really going towards unity or disunity? But anyway, Brother Ifo will then share for us. So Brother Ifo, I'm going to hand over to you now, sir. All yours. Thank you.
Thank you. And we should start with the geopolitical analysis with Sister Portia.
Brother Ifo, just so you know, I couldn't hear you very well.
How about now?
Others could. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Much better, sir.
Sure. All right. So we shall start with the geopolitical analysis. So, Sister Portia, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And I just want to be clear about the geopolitical analysis. There will be bias from me, even if I'm giving you the information, because automatically each of us has our own bias, not necessarily intended. So there's a bias in which stories I select and then say those stories, and then from there provide my analysis in it. So you're getting a pure view of mine, and I just want to make sure that what I bring to you, because that is not a agreed, a consensus form of way of how we select stories. And then when I bring certain stories to you, then I am still inputting from my pure view interpretation of those stories. So I want to.
Did we just lose you? We have no sound.
Yeah, Chair, we've lost her temporarily.
Okay.
It won't.
We are losing you, Sister Portia. I think the colonial forces are messing with her Zoom connection.
Well, pardon me. Okay, it's recording now. All right. Are we ready, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I just wanted to say for the record that there is a bias already, because when I am selecting these news pieces, I haven't went through a consensus way of how we select news pieces and then how they are brought to the communities here on this call. So there's an automatic bias. And then even with the most rational way of maybe looking at something and trying to be far removed, my passion, as you have heard many times, will always come through, because I'm very passionate about justice. And when injustice happens, I'm going to call that out. So that's a bias of me. That being said, I want to focus on a particular story today, but I do want to give some news pieces that happen because they relate, in my opinion, to that news story. Because when we look at if Africa is progressing in racial capitalist systems, always Africa will not progress, because the racial capitalist systems do not favor African as diaspora. It only steals, it only loots, it only lies, it only deceits in terms of us. And so therein, moving us outside of those systems, there are instances of that with the Alliance of the Sahel States and other pockets. If we look at Jamaica with the Maroons, we see that. Or if we look at the Gula Geechee here in the United States of America, we see that resistance. We've always resisted. When we try to measure, are we winning? I just challenge us to remember, if we judge it by racial capitalist systems, we African as diaspora, in my opinion, never win. But if we look at those different pockets of resistance, you can see some progress. And so these news pieces today, I think, are quite telling in this regard. So the first one was, it was talking about Kenya. And this source was saying that 76% of incarcerated people in Kenya, and I'm reading here, are in prison for petty offenses. Now, this is maybe not news to many of us on the call, and I'm aware I only have about 7 minutes left, but it was saying, and this goes with the numbers, the statistics I've seen, that basically most people who are being locked up are getting locked up on the continent for petty offenses. And so this gave me pause, because in the United States of America, there is a case that just happened this week where a sentence occurred. The name of the person is Carmelo Anthony, Carmelo with a K, and he, at 19, so he is legally a teenager as per Texas law, and also an adult. So the term 19 gets him under being called a teenager, and then at the same time he is now an adult. And at the time of this instance where Carmelo got into an altercation allegedly with the person who is now deceased, there were instances saying that this person who was at the time causing that discord with Carmelo Anthony had been doing this repeatedly. And I'll come to my point in a minute. So there are different viewpoints of what happened and why a life was lost. Now Carmelo, fast forward, who has been charged with this murder, was on trial. And the jury, what was so such a microcosm of how we won't get justice in racial capitalist systems is the jury were a jury of 12. And when you look at them, they are white appearing. And I'll take this back to that comment about the 76% of incarcerated people in Kenya are in prison for petty offenses. So Carmelo, the case was the trial, and he is now 19, a teenager, an adult by Texas law. At the time when the crime was committed, he was 17. And so Carmelo was then, per Texas law in the United States, moved to be tried as an adult, which is a whole nother story that I can't get into today that is happening in the United States of America and affecting Black men and Black boys. So 35 years, he is now sentenced, 12 jurors who are white appearing. And then when the pushback came that these were white appearing, there were some that said, well, there are 3 of them that are racial minorities, Asian and Indian. I bring up this to say, back to my original point, if we ask the question, is Africa progressing? And we're looking at it in racial capitalist systems, and I keep repeating that on purpose, we will never win, because you have cases like in Kenya where they're saying 75% of the people who are incarcerated for petty offenses. Petty offenses, what are those? That could be someone who's just selling some goods on the corner because they don't have money to have the permit, and that those goods are going to give them food for today. So that's happening there, where we have our youth, our Black men, our Black boys who are facing these structures that are very much opposed to having them progress. And then after they are in the system, there is the knee jerk that says, well, if you do the crime, you do the time. But it's off kilter. I said before, the goalpost is moved. And so it is really, in my opinion, very disconcerting that the numbers of Black men and Black boys globally, even on the African continent, when it comes to not having the resources, not having the court systems to fairly look at the situation and put it in context, are being imprisoned at high rates. And those are lives where they could have been whatever they wanted to be. So it's telling that this prison engine, this murderous engine, I would dare say, is having Black bodies being on an increase. And all of these laws, if we look at in Africa and we look at the laws that are on the book, we know that those are not indigenous African ways. They are not indigenous African law systems. And we are holding dear to them. Like I saw the other day, and then I'll wrap up, I saw when they were talking about having the diaspora come back home, I heard some people say, well, they need to be, good standing citizens. They can't be criminals. So then who gets to return to Africa? Only the people who have income? Only the people who are perceived to be good intention? And we're missing a mass amount of people that's being affected because of a perception about class and a perception about what is a citizen. So this Carmelo case and what is happening in Kenya, those two examples are quite telling microcosms that if we do not look into and address in our Pan-Africanist revolutionary ways of looking towards unification and liberation, we will miss a great and necessary population. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can't remember, do we usually take questions on the report or do we just go in?
Yeah, Chair, we can't take a few comments from the floor.
Okay.
And then they'll move on to the presentation. Thank you.
We've got Pigbin and then Sister Ida. I'm muted, but we can't hear you. Brother Pigbin, are you speaking? Okay. They seem to be having some audio issues. Sister, okay, Pigbin, can you try again? We still can't hear you. Okay, Sister Ida, maybe you can go ahead and we'll try them after you speak. So Sister Ida, go ahead.
Okay, Sister Portia, I heard your report and I was trying hard to remember. I thought to myself, you haven't told us why it was so unfair that it was all about the jury selection and the white jury. So I don't know that everybody who hasn't read about the case might know why you're singling it out. I don't know if you want to come back about the jury selection and how this guy was made put in jail and for the length of time compared to other people. So I that's what I was ready to put my hand up to because I think we've missed out on some of the story. Thank you. And seeing you in America, maybe you would know more than I know. Sorry. Thank you.
Chair, may I answer that, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Sister Ida, thank you for challenging me. I take up the challenge. So the person who was arrested was a black child at the time, a teenager under law as per Texas, 17 years old, got into an altercation with another child who was 17 years old. And the discourse that I have heard on the ground is that this was not the first incident of an altercation, and that the child at the time allegedly was so fed up that felt that their life was at harm and brought a weapon on campus, which is not legal, brought a weapon on on school property, and at the game felt that they had to defend themselves. When the situation happened and the altercation that caused this other white appearing person's life to be taken, it was said that the person, when they arrested him and he was to go for trial, that it was now a murder case. And the reason why this is so significant, because time and time again, I put a poster in the chat the other day about all of the Black lives that have been lost under instances of people saying the people were threatening and or the persons were not supposed to be in the neighborhood and or the people said that their lives they were fearing for their lives. These young people in that collage I sent, that was not done by me but someone else, it showed a microcosm of all of these black beautiful intelligent souls whose lives were taken so tragically and so swiftly because of the very racial capitalist systems that we are in. And United States of America is definitely, in my opinion, one of those areas that it's so severe. So it is important to us in the Pan-African movement, though it is in the United States of America, when we look at what's happening in the continent around who is considered criminal, who is considered not a citizen, not upstanding. We seem to see, as I have been living on the continent for many decades, just left there last year and going back this year, where the ancestors so permit, you see that there is a tale that usually those persons who are considered to be the ones who are asking for it, the ones who do the crime, so they should do the time, those are the people who are most economically affected, or they are targeted for who they are seen to represent: rebellion, going against the system. And then this is why I mentioned the colonial laws that are on the book, because they are very much guiding some of these laws that put our young people in jail based on perceived petty offenses. So there is a direct connection when we look at the imprisonment or the increasing imprisonment of our Black men and our Black boys. Because in my opinion, if they can keep taking out the Black men and the Black boys, this is what they, the oppressors, see as more than half the battle. It's not trying to knock out the women, because as you know, I'm strong about including the women. But this targeting and trying to take out Black men and Black boys, it has been happening since the 15th century, and it is increasing. It's increasing with the prison systems in North America, for example, and also in the prison systems throughout Africa. I hope this answers your question, and if not, I welcome to be challenged again. Thank you.
Thank you. And Congo Bongo, do you have a comment or a question?
Greetings, family. Can you hear me, first of all?
Loud and clear. Loud and clear.
All right.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, Sister Portia. I mean, respect. I feel your passion. I feel, your your enthusiasm. I mean, you've talked, like from the heart and from your soul. So I echo, what you just said, and I share definitely the same thought. There is, and it's been going on for quite a while, what you just said. And I like the fact how you started, regarding, how you compare, the States, Africa, the diaspora, and you've analyzed the fact that, this has been going on, everywhere around the world, for our, Black youth and men, to be, well, basically the race, as a whole, to be targeted, strategically, specifically for purpose. And it's all about the, racism, capitalism, imperialism, and obviously, because they know who we are under the sun. So, it's not every time that I take on the mic, and I like to listen, more than speak in those kind of platforms. But I felt your true, Pan-African spirit speaking, and I just wanted to basically say that, yeah, definitely you're on point. And what overall, what I can, understand and understand what you said, it's about us being self-reliant, self-sufficient, and self-sustaining, and obviously challenging that system that is, that is being designed, that is not designed for us at all. And and it's actually working quite well for what it was designed for, meaning totally, against us, looting, and pillaging and incarceration and, bringing some fertilizing, in a very organic and natural, soils, which is, obviously the global south and so on. So yeah, I definitely, hear you, I feel you, and respect. So I give thanks. That's what I wanted to say. Give thanks.
Thank you so much. And we got Brother Pigden, are you back? Is your mic working now?
Hello, can you hear me? I'm trying.
Oh yes, we can hear you now. Great.
No, respect to Chief Ayakongo, I'm very grateful to see you joining us today. Thank you very much for finding that time. Those who don't know, Chief Ayakongo is running a very important program, I think with the Spirit Talk FM, Chief Ayakongo, where he actually share content that actually decolonize the mind and speak to our mind for some time. So that's how I know Chief Ayakongo. And it will be very interesting to link you to any member, probably Sister Portia, or any member who might be useful to what you do together. So thank you very much, Chief Ayakongo, for finding time to be with us. Secondly, I'd like to comment on what Sister Portia says. Of course, it is very unfortunate. I haven't come across that report, and I'd be looking forward to have that report in Kenyan context. But it is not something legal in our context for incarceration. It was removed in law, and I don't know if incarceration takes place, it either happens internally, because already somebody who is already arrested is serving some sentence. So I don't know if incarceration is going on during their service time, which I'd be interested to know, because that is not as per the law. But incarceration was used even during the Mau Mau process here, when the white men were actually incarcerating let me say our brothers. And this case went to UK, and some people were compensated, I think in 2013. And it was also the same replication of what we call the lynching that was taking place back then. But sometimes I don't know if people does the incarceration really know the psychological struggle for incarceration that took place back then during the lynching period, when the whites were afraid of our genes and what is carried down there, and then they were ready to destroy it so that we don't give birth, because they were afraid of us, basically. Because that's the strength of us, where the strength lies. One of my friends, Julius Kamau, who has been an activist in Kenya, confirmed to me that he was somehow, not fully incarcerated, but somehow incarcerated once, apart from his over 300 arrests that has taken place over the last 1 year. He's been arrested over 300 times, but it was somehow like he was incarcerated once. He didn't confirm that clearly, but this method has been stopped in law, and it is not allowed. But what I'm having problem is the black people who commit this to the fellow blacks. Do they really know the psychological impact and the warfare we're going through? Because in Kenya now today, I see a lot of male, what they call male vasectomy, family planning for male, that the male have to remove their whatever, what you call the productive part of it, in terms of what they now call family planning, which is also has a lot of psychological impact. It's a war. This is what somebody called silent weapons for war. And we don't know it, but it's actually happening. And what we discuss in CSG, the subtle instruments. And these are subtle instruments that we are borrowing, and our police officers are happy to do it without doing the psychological impact it caused to us, and even the population destruction it caused to us. So that's what I wanted to comment on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Kwame, the floor is yours, and then I think we get back.
Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry for my misunderstanding. I was hearing incarceration as castration, so I kind of got confused whether we are talking about incarceration or castration, which is a removal of the male, the male reproductive organ, in terms of where the genes are produced. So yeah, so
Well, Professor
Yes.
Kwame, those two are the same. You remember that there was a movement in the United States of America where the Germans followed to do the murder that they did. So that was trying to wipe out black bodies then through going into the women saying that they were not fit to be mothers. I'm blanking at the name of the movement, but I will get it in the chat momentarily. So this thing is there is evidence that they are trying to oppressors trying to remove our offsprings, because if they remove our offsprings, they're thinking that they can remove black people, which is not going to happen, allegedly. So the two are tied. What King Brother Pigeon was saying, it may seem off, it may seem far removed, but they are in the same sphere. It is aimed at trying to take out black people. So please note that. Thank you.
So no, thank you. But as I'm saying, the castration as a biological process and then incarceration as a form of as a system of imprisonment, to use the word to castrate black people in terms of reproduction, are two different things. What I'm saying is that I thought I was hearing incarceration, but I'm also hearing castration, and that was leaving me confused. Anyway, so thanks for the clarification.
Pardon me, brother. I have to jump in because this is an important point you stating, Elder. Yes, there were two different words being used. You're correct. King Brother Pigeon talked about incarceration. He's challenging that people in Kenya should be arrested for petty offenses because it's against the law. But he was also mentioning that there is a situation where black bodies have been castrated. And this is why that came in. And then I was coming in, Professor, just to say that even if they're two different words, which we are aware of that, they are around the same area, which is trying to annihilate, allegedly, the black race. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So I am not arguing about other people being aware. I'm speaking for myself that I was hearing two words and I was getting confused. So I'm speaking about me and what I was hearing. I'm sure other people heard it right, and so that's okay. My comment on Sister Portia's presentation is that we live in and I thank her for kind of emphasizing the term racial capitalist system. And for those of you who don't know, Sister Portia has done a presentation on this topic. And so please visit that YouTube recording. Very, very important. We have also shared the book. So again, please, we encourage you all to read it. Anyway, so the point I want to make is that we live in a racial capitalist system. That is not in doubt. The problem for me is Sister Portia's statement that, and I'm paraphrasing here, that we will never win because we operate under racial capitalist system. I have a problem with that philosophically and practically. Philosophically, in the sense that in dialectics, thesis is always opposed by antithesis, out of which arises a synthesis. So I'm saying that philosophically, that statement does not, shall we say, does not embrace the dialectical perspective. And the fact that we operate in a racial capitalist system, does it mean, therefore, that we will always remain in perpetual domination? Well, does it mean Africa will perpetually be under domination? So if we take what Portia said on face value, that is what he's saying. So my practical difficulty also is that, yes, we have had domination, and that has taken different forms. But those who are dominated always fight, and sometimes when they fight, they win. So we fought the colonial system we won, but it metamorphosed into neocolonialism. I know some of you dispute that term. And we are continuing to fight. Now, the purpose of the geopolitical analysis, Chair, is that we have a sense of where we think Africa is going. Now, if we think Africa is going nowhere, then what is the point of geopolitical analysis? If we think that we will never win, that Africa cannot change anything, we are under the oppression or suppression of the global capitalist system, and therefore we can't change it, then what is the point? So I'm not saying that that is what Sister Portia said in terms of the implications, but I'm saying that when I hear that, those philosophical and practical questions are what arise for me. Thank you.
Chair, may I clarify? May I clarify? And I heard Professor Kwame very well. I heard his sensitivity. May I clarify?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I just have to keep quoting revolutionary Fred Hampton. You cannot have Black capitalism. The system, in my opinion, to quote another sister who said it, it has to come down. And we holding on to systems that keep spitting in our faces. It is evidence that these systems don't care about us. And yes, we are fighters. We are the original kings. We are the original queens. We created warfare, i.e. Shaka Zulu, for example. So yes, we are strong. Yes, we will keep fighting. Yes, we have always surmounted injustice, because this stuff is spiritual, as we talked about last week. This idea of holding on to a decrepit system that continuously spits out vial after vial, and it's poisonous. It is poisonous. It's so poisonous when we trying to get it out of the system, like the traditional healers, shout out to the traditional healers, we think when we getting sick and we not feeling well that we need to go back to the system. I'm saying some of us. So when I'm saying we will never win in racial capitalist systems, is that the system is failing. It is cancerous. It is diseased. It is unhealthy. So why would we want to win in unhealthiness? We get out of the systems. We check out what the Maroons have done. We check out what the Gullah Geechees have done, but we make sure we get out of it. Because if we stay in these systems, if we stay in them, it will take us out, no matter how strong we are. That's all I'm trying to say. It's not trying to make it a pessimism. It's actually looking at it logically. Go back to the traditional Akibulan principles of Mayat that were before these bills of rights and these 10 rules of whatever commandments, allegedly. Let's go back and get out of this, because the dollar ain't valuable anyway, allegedly. That's all I'm saying. Let's get out of it.
Well said, sister. I was thinking the same thing when he was responding. They say if you find someone that is really good at poisoning the water in your village, your duty, if you love your village, is not to find out how to be better at poisoning the water in your village. And to me, capitalism is the poison in the water in our global village. So we don't want to be better at capitalism. We want to end capitalism. We don't want to, there is no winning in who poisons the village faster. That doesn't make any sense to me. I see Sister Ida, and I will go to Sister Tapua because we haven't spoken yet, and then we'll come back to Sister Ida after, and then Congo Bongo. Tapua, you're up.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My apologies, I joined the meeting late, so I'm sure I missed a few important things. But going by where I joined in from. If we want to get rid of a people, if we want to silence people, if we want to erase people, context matters. There was a time in history when it was possible for them to openly kill, shoot. But where we are right now, that's not camp. So other methods are in play. If you want to castrate the people so that they don't reproduce, you take out one of the party involved in the reproduction. So by merely putting so many male people Black people into prison, we need to go beyond just saying they're paying for something. It's happening at this rate, at this speed, because the result is the same. They want to castrate. So it might not necessarily be physically castrating, but the end result is the same. Removal of one part of the intercourse in order to make sure reproduction stops. And then on the issue of intending to
Admissible hypothesis.
right on the issue of I think I can hear Professor when you're talking about a hypothesis. Anyway, with the issue of getting winning as a people, capitalism is a system designed for a few. And capitalism, by its very nature, is divisive. And the division is along racial lines. If we are trying to win against capitalists or in a capitalist context, we have to redefine what win means. I would go back to Nkrumah. Nkrumah saw his independence of Ghana not as a win because of the context, because of the fact that it was within the capitalist system, the racial capitalist system. So if we're going to win, we need to do it the Traore way. Get out. Try and find a way out of this system so that we can win. Then we are redefining what win means. We could have a temporary win, as in being independent, but now we know what this win means. This win of being independent is a hoax because we haven't won. If we had won, we would not be struggling with neocolonialism. We would not be struggling with the, unfathomable imperialist intentions. So I think as Pan-Africanists, we need to identify the win that we mean, the win that takes us back to who or what we hope the world will be under Black people. Because I think then, when we're out of the capitalist system, we're fairer. We've got Ubuntu. We look after everyone. We look after everything on the planet. Thank you very much. I'll stop there for now.
Thank you very much. Sister Ida?
I thank Sister Tapoa because she gave me the words that I've been struggling with, which is that context matters. And I'm even struggling, though I agree with almost everything Sister Portia says. The reason I've come back is that I'm struggling that we as a group are just going over are just literally airbrushing a case that is such a miscarriage of justice. And I'm even beginning to wonder if I heard the name of the person right that she's talking about. I think we're talking about, or that she called in the case of the young teenager. I think we're talking about Camilla Anthony. And I even had to go and Google this because the thing about him is he was 17 when this happened. He might be 19 now, but he's been given a 35-year prison sentence. And it was such a miscarriage of justice that it was an all-white jury. Everything about the case was all white, with a young black boy being sentenced. Even the length of the knife he used was legal. I mean, it was legal for him to carry. All I'm really saying is that we seem to have almost airbrushed. I hear what you're saying about all these people, all these black men who are put in jail, are incarcerated, this, that, and other. But, you know, this is something that happened, if not last week, the week before. This, I presume, this month. And I just can't believe we are sort of using it in such a manner because it is such a miscarriage of justice. And that's what we should be shouting about. I know we're shouting about the numbers in jail, but this is so recent. And I hear you about, oh, it's imprisoning black men and in that way um, uh, trying to reduce numbers and stuff like that. But I don't think we're doing justice, and therefore, this is the second time I've raised my hand about it because I think we can't be, you know, we're airbrushing it as much as the white people have done. So I'm sorry, that's why I've put my hand up again. Thank you.
Sister Ida, I take offense to that because I have 10 minutes to speak. I have 10 minutes to speak
I
on
agree
a
with you, and
geopolitical.
I did say I agree with what you're saying, but
Sorry, Chair, I have muted Sister Portia and Sister Ida. Let's move on, please. Otherwise, we'll just keep going backwards and forwards. Thank you.
Yeah, but
Yes.
I can, Professor Kwame, we can
Sorry,
discuss.
Sister Portia, please. Let's, Chair, can you please take over and move the meeting forward? Thank you.
Yes, but please
we
let
haven't
me
even
clear.
begun to touch the topic for today yet. And we've
Yeah,
already spent
Yeah,
1 hour.
we are about to get to
Thank
that,
you.
but this was very serious. Let her just do a
yeah,
quick
this is
response.
very serious.
Everything
Thank
is
you.
serious, brother. Given our situation,
Yes, so
everything
please
is
let me.
serious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me
Sister
continue
Portia,
right
go ahead.
quick. What I take offense to is please don't characterize me as white brushing this situation. I have 10 minutes to speak, and I heard what you're saying, Sister Ida, but please don't characterize me in the same group of the white people who have miscarried this justice. If anything, I'm coming to say this is parallel to the black bodies that are in prisons globally. I had 10 minutes to present. Now, I take your point that I could have done a better presentation. I get that. But please don't put me in the same group of white people who have done this miscarriage of justice. That's what I ask you to please kindly retract. But you have your right to your opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. And Congo Bongo, you're the last one before we go to today's topic.
Yeah, give thanks. Well, again, the reason that I decided to talk in the first place, it was because I could understand and understand what Sister Portia, was addressing to us. Looking at the bigger picture overall as Pan-Africanists, as a global family, and obviously giving one example of the case of what is going on in Texas, which I think I had to look at it. I think I heard about it. Actually, he was acting in self-defense, as a matter of fact. And he urges, but anyway, that's another issue. But again, I could understand and understand what Sister was talking about in a global sense as Pan-Africanist, that it wasn't much well, of course, she mentioned the case, but it wasn't necessarily just about the case in itself, but it was an occurrence that has been happening for quite some time, centuries, as a matter of fact, as a people. And she also gave the example of revolutionaries, the rebels that rebelled, over time, and separated, from that system, that racist, capitalist, and imperialist system. And she said and mentioned that they were quite successful, and they are quite successful, if I heard properly what she was saying. And so she was looking at the bigger picture about that. And so, and then trying to find solutions about our current situation. Are we gonna yet? She also used the word, the spine. That is something that it's spiral, that system, that racist, capitalist, and imperialist system is like a spiral, right? So it's always, redesign or reshape, you know, is its system according to the time that we are living, right? So some call it neocolonialism and whatever. But nevertheless, it's like a spiral, all right? So it's a system, designed not to ever fail, in a sense. If you look at really, if you dig into it, into their own words, as a matter of fact, it's a system that is meant to stay in perpetuity, eternally in perpetuity, in balance or unbalance, whatever word you want to call it, in a sense that it's a racist, so it has to have a hierarchy of colors, of capital, and you have to have an emperor or imperial, an imperial, word, shall I say, right? So, but again, what I did like about the sister is what she was looking at the bigger picture and looking at the solutions, global Pan-African, what we ought to do, what we have to do in order for us to not just, win battles as such, but winning the war, right? Not just little battles and then, and we still, no. It's about being self-reliant, self-sufficient, and self-sustaining. I always say also, while challenging the norm, because if you look at the way that system is designed, so it's not just racist, capitalist, and imperialist, but look at all the other subjects, such as law, for example. It is actually legal, not to say lawful, that things, those
Thank
things
you,
are happening. Yes, if you allow
Congo.
me, if you allow me to finish up, please, just 10 seconds, I will finish up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so it is legal. I mean, look at the United Nations. Look at the African Union. Look at so everything is fine. The system, is doing fine, and it's legal. And so, therefore, we have to find a way to actually look after ourselves while challenging that norm. So I give thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, so now we go on to the topic of today. Someone's mic is open. I think it's Brother Pigman. So is it my understanding that we don't have a presenter for today's topic? Or do we have one? I hear nothing. So I am presuming that we do not have a presenter for today's topic. Is that correct?
Brother Ifo, we sent out the request, and no one has come back. So as usual, I always prepare.
So we'll just discuss it.
I
Do
always
you want to
prepare a
share the
presentation.
flyer?
Sorry?
Do you want to share the poster for the topic, just to remind folks?
Yeah, so I'm going to do a presentation on the topic. The time is 8:15. Just for our own, just so we all are aware, when we advertise topics, it attracts different people. So when they come, they expect to, they expect that topic to be the topic for discussion. So let's be mindful. Let's be mindful, because remember, these sessions are for everybody. We invite everyone. Brother Pigeon shares it very widely, so just bear that in mind. Okay. So I have been looking at the topic. The topic so Chair, I'll spend about 20 minutes, and then yeah. So I've looked at the topic for today, and the topic for today is labor, skills, and productive capacity. I mean, that is the topic for today. And for all of us who are aware of what is happening on the continent, some of the issues on the continent are to do with labor, skills, and productive capacity. Yeah, if you look around. So, for instance, one of the reasons why our brothers and sisters in South Africa are asking other Africans to leave is over labor, skills, and productive capacity. And the reason is that our brothers and sisters in Ghana went on strike, I believe on Thursday it was also because of labor, skills, and productive capacity. In terms of productive capacity, they are arguing that Goldfields' productive capacity in the mines, in Takwa mines, can be taken over by Ghanaians. Why? Their argument is that because the Ghanaians currently constitute the experts, if you like, and that they have the skills at Takwa mines to mine the gold. And the millions, some say billions, being made by the South African company is repatriated to South Africa, and yet South Africans are asking them to leave. Therefore, those who are returning should be, or some of them can't get jobs in these mines, etc., etc. My point is that it's about labor, skills, and productive capacity. And I don't think any of us here will argue that the capitalist system that we have today is not good for our health and well-being. That the point of the unification, liberation, development of Africa is precisely because the capitalist system does not work for us. Yeah, we've argued in the past that it doesn't work for anybody. It only works for the capitalists. Even the ordinary non-Black labor force in any country and the capitalism, even they do not benefit as they should, because the system is geared towards maximum extraction. Yeah. So it is our wish that the new system that we Africans should champion should be non-capitalist. I don't think there's any argument about that. And so In the 60s, when we started with the nationalization, some countries did nationalization, central planning, etc., etc. The point was to transform the economy from capitalist to non-capitalist. So in that sense, we are all on the same page. So let's all be clear. This CSG does not promote capitalism. We know some of our brothers and sisters in our CSG debating forum are pro-capitalists, think that we are insane not to want capitalism. But that is it. So my presentation, as I said, will not be more than 20 minutes. I'm showing you this slide, this first slide, because this for me is the heart of my presentation. It's saying that there is a jurisdictional gap when it comes to labor skills and productive capacity. The jurisdictional gap is that the AU, so the AU has policies on labor skills and productive capacity. Yeah, the African Union has it. The African Union Commission is delegated to ensure that this policy is implemented. Yeah, but there is a jurisdictional gap in the sense that the AU is saying one thing in its documentation, and the African countries are doing something different, because the AUC, that's the African Union Commission, has not legislated, or the African countries separately, the 54 if Western Sahara is not part of it, they are doing something different. Everyone is doing their own thing. Yeah. Currently, you could say that we are all confused on the continent. South Africa is doing one thing, Malawi is doing something different, Mozambique something different, Ghana something different. You've got Morocco doing something different. Yeah. And Nigeria is doing something different. So there is no central focus. You know, and I think this underlines, underlines our call for the unification of Africa, because we believe that if Africa is not united, and if we don't have one central government coordinating certain policies, then you have a situation where dialectics is working against us, because what we will have is a confusing mass of contradictory policies. Yeah, and that is not helpful for us. So that is my main contribution for today in terms of the question of labor skills and productive capacity, not in one neo-colonial territory, but in the entire African continent. For us, that continent should be one nation. Yeah, it's currently not one country. We don't have an African nation yet, even though we talk about Africa. Africa is not one country. I think we all recognize that. We are not African citizens yet. All of us here are either US citizens, Canadian citizens, Ghanaian citizens, South African citizens, Zimbabwe citizens, etc., etc., etc. You know, we are not citizens of one African nation. You see, so this is my main point, that what we have is what I have called the scholastic policy framework, by which I mean scholarly documents, you know, that I'll go into a few of them soon in terms of the terminologies, because what you notice is that we have big terminologies, and you'll see some in a moment. All these big terminologies, yeah. But on the other hand, if you look at the practical industrial sovereignty, it's not there. Yeah. And that is what I call the jurisdictional gap. That on the ground in Kano or in KwaZulu-Natal or in Takwa, you know, you will find that on the ground, labor skills and productive capacity is not being affected by policies at the level of the African Union as things stand. You understand? So that is the, if you like, the gap. So that is my main contribution. I'll come to that again and again in my 20 minutes. So the era of capacity mapping and surveys, and the AU has done a lot of this. Our argument, the argument of this meeting is that, the symposium, if you like, is that we must immediately give way to mandatory knowledge transfer, local certification, and sovereign operational control to build the Africa that we want. We must stop calculating the gap, which is what the AU has been doing up till now. They are very good at calculating. Oh, we need so many doctors, we need so many medical doctors, we need so many engineers. Yeah, Africa currently does not have the engineers to build any system that requires the highest levels of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. As a continent, we don't have those skills. If we want to build any modern system, whether it is Dangote in Nigeria or GERD in Ethiopia, that's a great the great dam in Ethiopia, we have to bring in expatriates. And I think Brother Ifo has made a point before that these expatriates are paid money that they don't pay even our own experts. So to give you an idea of the problem in terms of terminology, have a look at this. So just in terms of the institution of the AU, look at the institutional bodies that we are talking about. Sorry, my laptop, in terms of the LED, is not working properly. So you might see lines or colors. So please forgive me. I'm in the process of getting a new one. This is
coming out clear for us. So it's
wonderful. Okay, that's good then to know. So these are just institutional bodies. Yeah, I mean, have a look at them. The AUC, African Union Commission, the ACBF, the African Capacity Building Foundation. And this is the body that is tasked with first level continental responsibility for promoting the new African technical skills agenda. Then we have the RECs, the regional economic communities. We've had arguments about some of them are useless, some of them are far ahead. Yeah, there are those who say that the EAC is the worst, the ECOWAS is the best, whatever. All these arguments are made. We have those regional economic communities. Then we have NEPAD, which is a new partnership for Africa's development. And this is an AU technical body. So at the AU level, we have these institutions. That's set one. If you just want to get to grips with labor skills and productive capacity, I am saying to us here that these are the terminologies that we have to get used to. Whether we like the AU or not is not the point here. Some have argued that the AU should be abolished. Fair enough. If that is your view, that is your view. However, whether AU is abolished or not, the point is that at the continental level, we have to deal with similar institutions. And it is our responsibility as Africans to know these bodies. The second set of terminologies that you should also get used to when it comes to labor skills and productivity are CTS, critical technical skills. Okay. Second, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. That's another term you've got to get used to. TVET, technical and vocational education and training. Okay, that's practical training for the technicians, artisans, and craftspeople. Then we have CETA, which is a South African pioneer in South Africa, and that's the Sector Education and Training Authority. You know, I'm not aware that all African countries have SETAs. Then we have composite capacities, which are what we call soft skills. Yeah, how you talk to people, you know, how you relate to people, you know, etc., etc. You know, negotiation, how you formulate policy, transformational leadership, you know, emotional control, emotional intelligence. These are soft skills, you know, composite capacities. So I am suggesting to us that these, again, are terminologies we have to get used to, whether or not we are into labor skills and productive capacity. At the end of the day, the primary problem for Africa is that we do not have complete ownership, control, and management of our resources. And these have implications in terms of skills. So I would encourage all of us to kind of get to grips with this terminal. And that is not all. We then have strategic frameworks and initiatives created by our leaders, and you can see a lot of them here. Agenda 2063, African Continental Free Trade Area. We have JLMP, Joint Program on Labor Migration Governance, which I understand were part of the organization in terms of the airlifting of people from South Africa. We hear the labor migration governance system was in place. Then we have PIDA, Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa. Then we have STISA, Science, Technology, and Innovation Strategy for Africa. Finally, we have SSE, Social Solidarity Economy. Some would say that is just a way of saying socialism in a different way. Anyway, again, I am saying to us that these are set 3. These are strategic frameworks and initiatives. And if we are interested, if we are really, really interested in the unification of Africa, this is the language we have to start speaking, brothers and sisters. Now, we have set 4. There are 6 sets of terminologies we have to get used to. Then we have analytical and practical concepts in these documents that the AU has produced. Here are some of them. Cognitive justice, which means finding, if you like, local solutions to global problems, if you like, local, as some people say. We have Africanization. Yeah. Then we have capacity substitution, which basically is saying that before a company leaves the shores of Africa, before they are paid, you know, everything, they must certify that there are Africans who can do the job. Then we have loneliness syndrome, which is the idea that the African universities are just ivory towers. They don't care. They don't take an interest. They do not solve local problems. Well, some will argue that some of them do. But the idea is that they're isolated from the productive sector. Then we have the brain drain, which I think all of us are familiar with. Our experts are all in Europe. Our experts are in America. Our experts are in Australia. Our experts are in everywhere else except on the African continent. I'm saying that this is the set of definitions, again, we have to get used to. Then we have set 5. In the document, these are the policy variables. These are the policies that the AU is saying, if we are able to use these as levers, you know, as gears, if you like, that is how we can change the African continent in terms of labor, skills, and productivity. And the X1 to X6 you are seeing, this is just my mathematization of what is in the document. This is not how they have put it. This is me sharing this with you. And one of the reasons I write it this way for us is that I want to desensitize you of the fear of mathematics, because that's one of our problems. Unless and until Africa is comfortable with mathematics, okay, we have a problem, because you can't solve our problems, the problems that Africa faces. Yeah, you can't solve them, whether it's through technology, engineering, whatever, without mathematics. So one of the things I'm doing as a mathematics teacher is to help, is to encourage us. So I use this to encourage you not to be afraid when you see mathematical symbols. But anyway, there they are, X1 to X6, quantitative human capital gap. These are terms in the document. Yeah, just so you know, I didn't invent them. They are there. Then we have composite competencies, X3, institutional alignment, X4, mandatory knowledge transfer, X5, financial enabling environment, and then X6, our mindset and the will to execute. Some will say the African personality. So you could argue that the AU has been listening to us. They've been hearing our cries. They are not using the same terminologies we are using, but they have heard us. So we have mindset. You remember what Nkrumah said, the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of Africa. You know, that Africa, that we, you know, so yes, that's X6, the will to execute. Then we have this, you might call, final set of symbols, or of issues, or of information, or of data, however you want to put it. And this is something also we have to be aware of, that the labor force of Africa currently has a labor force of over 500 million workers, and is one of the youngest and fastest growing in the world. Yeah, that's the situation with our labor force. Youth bulge. 65% of the population, Africa's population, is under 35, representing Africa's greatest human capital asset. Employment and unemployment. 12% youth unemployment in sub-Saharan Africa. They differ. The issue is that 41% of job seekers have few or no skills. Yeah, and that is serious. If you have a sectoral breakdown, agriculture dominates employment. We have 54% in low-income countries, but only 2% of our students specialize in agriculture. How are we going to industrialize Africa if we are not producing the food that those working in industry will need? How are we going to produce the raw materials, you know, that industry would need? You know, so this is serious in terms of labor skills and productive capacity. If you look at industrial manufacturing, I think I dealt with this last week. We are under 15%, as you can see, because some countries like Morocco are over the 15%, but sub-Saharan Africa, apart from South Africa, I think, industrial labor is less than 10% in most countries. Less than 10% industrial labor. Brothers and sisters, this is serious. This is serious. Our leaders are fast asleep, but at least the AU is trying to deal with it. But they are not hearing from us because we ourselves are disengaged from what the AU is doing. Now, when it comes to services and informal sector, up to 85% of the workforce operates in the non-wage informal sector. How are you going to develop when 85% of your population, of your workforce, are in the informal sector? In Ghana, selling dog chains, the pictures of Jesus, the white Jesus, etc., etc. You know, our young men, these are what they sell on the streets. So I'm back to my slide I started with, which is the problem that we face. And that we need to cross the jurisdictional gap to trigger industrialization, meaning that the AU has done all these documents at the top. Yeah. And the AUC is responsible, but nothing is happening on the ground. Yeah, nothing is happening on the ground. Not much is happening on the ground. And that is the jurisdictional gap. So if it is a case that we, CSG here, have to promote, have to lead, have to make noise about these things, then we should. The whole point of our Saturday sessions, brothers and sisters, is that when we have these discussions, we take them out into the community. I don't think we are doing that, but that is the point of this Saturday sessions. Chair, I think I will pause here. I hope I didn't spend more than 20 minutes. I think I'll pause here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please put your hands up if you have any questions. I was wondering, could you? There was a slide you had that had a list of the issues, including.
Yeah, this one.
No, the one that talked about the universities being disconnected.
Yes. The loneliness syndrome.
Yes, this one.
Yes.
All right. I have the misfortune of living in the place that's been stolen and decided to call Canada. And all of these things that you're talking about are what they talk about here domestically in the problem in Canada. Because I'm here, I'm also.
Sorry, Brother Ifo, I can't hear you well. I don't know if it's just me.
Oh, sorry. Let me try again. I'm saying over here, everything that you've described here as an African problem is a colonial problem, because we're seeing the exact same thing here in Canada. The things that they're complaining about are the same things. We also see the same thing in America. Canada talks about brain drain. America also talks about it, about all these talented people that they seem to only find in India or China, and too many Africans in high positions. So it seems to be a colonial thing that we are reproducing all over, because it's the same colonial systems that we're using, and that we've adopted wholeheartedly. And the more I stay here, the more I see the congruency in the problem and also in the solution. I know locally here, similar to how it is in back home, but actually worse back home, is where the experts from away are paid higher than the local folks. We see that here, but it's a little bit different because the wage disparity is not as bad. But we also, like I've said in the past sessions, that we have a serious problem of the local folks not being respected at home. We have folks with all kinds of skills. They're either not paid as the highly skilled people that they are, or they're not even hired at all. And in the case of Dangote, he's paying top dollar for incompetent foreigners. And it is the domestic workers who have the skills, the local indigenous Africans who have the skills in petroleum, who are actually doing the work and are teaching the incompetent people that Dangote is paying top dollar what to do, which is why there have been multiple strikes and multiple work actions on Dangote sites, because of how abusive he is and his businesses are to the local population. So it's not just that we don't have, maybe I don't know about other countries' domestic issues, but I know specifically in Nigeria, there is an overabundance of talent that are not being used. And then we see those same talented people end up coming out of the country eventually and running top institutions, and they are not getting retrained. My father was teaching in Canada. He was teaching the stuff that he learned, and he was trained in Nigeria. He's teaching vet pathology. So we have the talent. We just don't have the respect for the talent. That's my submission. Thank you. And I still see no hands. Anyone have any questions, comments, reflections on our labor issues? All right. We see the Pidbin, Mr. Ida, and then Congo Bongo. Go ahead.
Greetings. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I've been having unstable internet a bit, but I want to, of course, also thank Brother Kwame for this presentation once again. But just to highlight on some few things in regards to this topic. I think the question Sister Tapua asked, whether we lack skilled labor or what. Now, we must try to identify the role of education in the entire process here, in terms of skill, labor, and the productive capacity. We inherited the colonial education with an intention to produce so-called white-collar jobs or white-collar whatever. And then we knew the intention they were to work in the colonial setup, rather than your colonial setups. The education system in the entire continent currently somehow does not even equip us with the relevant or necessary skills that are practical. Some times back, in my country in Kenya, those who studied in 1980s, they had some lessons like home science, art and craft, and such lessons. In fact, it was mandatory by then that once you are done with your high school, you were to go straight to the paramilitary training, which is called NYS, National Youth Service. And we still retain the National Youth Service across the country. I think in many continents, you still get the National Youth Service, youth services. So that every person was to learn a skill there. And those skills were either in masonry, carpentry, welding, wiring, electricity, plumbing, something that is now coming up. But the problem is that we ignore a lot of this. So everybody then went to the mainstream of trying to be a teacher, a doctor, a pilot, a nurse, and all those so-called blue-collar, whatever, white-collar things. Then over a period of time, we are realizing that the capacity and the space to employ doctors, nurses, and whatever is not actually enough in the continent. The governments in the continent do not spend much in areas like health, education, infrastructure. They spend much in areas like corruption, their salaries, and managing some big governments. So then, every year, for example, in Kenya, we churn out almost over 100,000 teachers. But the government, in the last 4 years, has only employed those 100,000 teachers. So we have a deficit of 300,000 teachers. Where do they go? So sometimes it's not even that the continent lacks skill, it's a mismatch of skills, where the continent has too many teachers with no accommodation space for them. We have so many engineers who graduate in every university, but there are no roads given to our engineers, but they will be given again, as you are saying, Brother Ifo, to Chinese to come and maybe build them. And they do that maybe because of interest. So maybe we make a farm and a deal with them, or because of mistrusting our process. Of course, our education also has been shallow bit, because you realize some people get even degrees and certificates without even going to classes. And that has been very frequent with the politicians. So I think the bottom line of this is to restructure our educational focus, that we can no longer produce the white-collar staffs guys. Today, they're building roads in this country, there are houses coming up. We need plumbers, we need engineers, we need people with technical skills. Like myself, I have a technical skill in shaving, what you call barbershop or barbing. But today, you can't get many Kenyans who can be employed in the barbershops. But you know what? Countries like Burundi, who are seen to be less developed, or Rwanda, have trained most of their people in barbershop. So they are barbers. And they're now being employed in Kenya to earn a lot of money, while we Kenyans are not even focusing on that simple thing. We are thinking of how we can be big men and big whatever up there. So I think there's a mismatch of skill. There's an educational structure that needs to be focused on to give us the right production level, but there's also a government direction in terms of policy and intention that must be directed to intensively or intentionally develop the continent. Of course, we have a lot of manpower out, which we also call to come back. And then the process of repatriation or reparations, we need also the skills of African Black community that are building Europe and America to come help build the continent, so that instead of relying on the Chinese and the rest, we can build the continent. I know we have men and women, Black men and women out there who can build the continent. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sister Ida?
Chair, I'd like to respond before somebody else comes in to address.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, address one or two things. I've shared this screen for a purpose, which is to thank you for those who have said something so far. So let's be clear. Sister Pua asked, is it that we don't have the skills? Yeah, that's what her question. I'm afraid to inform us that in some areas we don't have the skills, not in the numbers we need. Now, if you look at the baseline, the numbers haven't come out clearly. Yeah. These are estimates, by the way. It's not as if the AU went to the ground and counted people. They use an estimation system. But if you look at the baseline, the severe skills emergency and expatriate reliance, yeah, Africa lacks 8.16 million medical specialists, right? Highly skilled expatriates outnumber national staff in key infrastructure sectors. If you take Angola, for instance, 56% are expats, in their modern STEM sectors. Mauritius is 53%. There is a list of all the countries and the level of reliance on expatriates. Now, let's be clear. There's nothing here that we will say that the AU is not aware of. So, in a way, we are not here to moan or not to moan, but to agonize over our problems. And there's nothing here that we will say that, if you like, the powers that be don't already know. What is missing is a campaign to change things. That is what is missing, because all of us are busy as neo-colonial citizens. That is the problem. So if you take what Brother Pigeon said, for instance, that is what we call X1, the quantitative gap. Yeah. And that's what Brother Pigeon is mentioning, that there's a raw deficit in critical technical skills. Yeah. The graduates. South Korea produced 147,858 engineers. Yeah. Not sure what year this is. It could have been the year that they were looking at this. At the same time, how many did Africa produce? 75,199. That is the problem. We're not producing enough people. That is one of the problems. And then when it comes even, I won't go into X2 to X6, but I'll pause here because of the time. But I just want to draw our attention that these 6 policy levers already address anything that we can come up with. So that's not the problem. The problem is the jurisdictional gap and the fact that we are doing nothing. We complain, but we ourselves are not campaigning to have things changed. That is the problem. Thank you, Chair.
All right, Sister Ida, you're up next, and then I'm after you.
I think I'm in trouble today because some of my ideas might sound really far-fetched, but
we can't hear you.
Oh, what did he say? What Africans need the most, in a way, which is that we all, and we don't consider those, the farmers and the growers of food, as maybe should be the top. We have colonial ideas. We have colonial education, and we continue.
Sorry, Chair, I can't hear Sister Ida.
Yeah, Sister Ida, your voice is going in and out. It's going from clear to
doing
just
the work
nothing.
in Africa in a way uneducated because they don't have, or some of them uneducated because they don't have qualifications. Yet they're trained, a lot of them who are on the farms are trained from birth. So their sort of education, in a way, is much more grounding and necessary to them than, say, having a European qualification in education. At least this is some of the thinking I'm beginning to think, that we're always praising people who have big educational qualifications, but they're not necessarily helping the people on the ground. I think I'll leave it there, but I do think that we should maybe be trying to turn this round. When you look at how some of the who are they? The states that are now saying no, they're going to go on their own, or they're going to try and get rid of the debts. I mean, some of them might have big qualifications, but a lot of them won't have, but they're still fighting to get rid of colonial mindsets. And I think that's something we too, in this group, CSG should be fighting for. That there is a lot of golden people that don't have qualifications. Gold might not be the right word, but there's a lot of wealth in what they learn from birth. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm up next, but what I want to say is similar to what Sister Ida is saying. So, do you want to just take both of our questions together, or do you want to answer her first?
Oh, sorry, Chair. And yeah, Sister Ida, what's that is saying? I mean, I think she's making a very good point. Yeah, I think she's made a very good point that, and I think the data backs what she's saying, which is what I've been saying, that yeah, the data backs what she's saying in terms of agriculture. If you look at the Africans, our labor force that are have been educated, to in terms of modern agricultural skills, our labor force are not going in that direction. So yeah, I think that is something so I agree with that, sir. Yeah.
All right, thank you. If you mind stop sharing for a moment, I'm just going to share something as I respond.
Yeah.
So right now, you were talking about, hold on, where's my screen? About I'm just going to use doctors, but it's the same thing for engineers, bankers, people in tech like me. So here you can see there is a shortage of doctors in Nigeria, but most of that is because of brain drain. So many people are trained, highly skilled, and they leave within 15 years. Even right now in the province where I live, in Canada, in Nova Scotia, if you are a trained nurse with experience in Nigeria, within a couple of months, in some cases less than a month, they can give you your permit to work because there's a nursing shortage over here. Similar situation in the US and in the UK. There has been a push to actually to get the governments of the foreign governments that are poaching our skilled labor to stop doing that, or at least provide some sort of compensation, because these people are trained mostly based on the tax revenue of people in Africa. And then they come and they use their skills and talent to work outside of the country. And so we need to, there's that break. So there is a serious skilled, there's so many skilled people that are doing nothing back home. And also here in Canada, I see doctors, I see surgeons, I see engineers that are driving taxis or even working minimum wage jobs. They're overqualified, but not being allowed to work, even though the federal government has given them their permit, but the provincial governments refuse to do it. So there's a waste of serious talent. Now, instead of paying non-Africans in the countries that do not have doctors, but why don't they actually look at doing bilateral agreements so that we can have these people, if you have the budget to pay big money to somebody else, pay a half decent salary to an African. If you're a country that doesn't have enough engineers or doesn't have enough doctors, you can offer something to someone from a neighboring country that might have an overabundance of those skills, and then have that happening. But we are not doing that because there's this racist idea that the white person is always better. So that's always what the way that things are done. So there's all kinds of money to pay competent or incompetent foreigners, but there's no money to pay the brilliant local people on the ground to do the work. And that's part of it. And there's also, of course, we know the corruption of that is happening. There's corruption everywhere, but we seem to have an epidemic of corruption on the ground. That's my submission. I'll stop sharing now.
Chair. If I may respond, so you've drawn attention to the last point on this slide, which is the brain drain.
Okay.
So this is a point I am making in the set for analytical and practical concepts. I'm suggesting to us, brothers and sisters, that there's nothing here that we are saying that is not known by the AU. Yeah. If you look at the documents, the AU are aware of everything we are saying here. The problem is that, one, there is a jurisdictional gap. The AU does not have the power to implement its policy in the neo-colonial territories, because the neo-colonial territories, in terms of governance, are independent. They do what they like. That's number one. Number two, we, the people, are not campaigning to have things changed. So it's not about we agonizing, it's about we organizing. And one of the reasons for these Saturday sessions, we are not interested in these sessions on what the separate African neo-colonial territories are doing or will do. That's not really our focus. Our focus in our unification session is to take a continental perspective of what is happening. You understand? So it's not we're not interested in bilateral relations between Ghana and Nigeria. Great, wonderful. But what we are interested in terms of unification is, what is the continental framework? What's the continental policy? Once these are having their bilateral relations, great. But for us, we want to draw attention to the fact that the AU has all these brilliant documents sitting on shelves, and they are not being implemented. And yet, they are wonderful policies. That is the point we are making here. Well, that's the point I am trying to make to us, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sister Joy, the floor is yours.
Just so you know, it's 9:04. Yeah?
Yes.
Thank you.
So what's the policy since we started late? Should we also be just delay a bit, or do we have a hard end?
Oh, we leave that totally to who is vice chair. We don't like to make rules for the chairs. They do what they think is right. But I was just reminding you, but you use your own judgment as chair and you think it's right. Thank you.
If someone else wants to take up the chair and to continue and finish up, but I have a family Zoom that started 2 minutes ago. That was the call that came in. So I told him I'll be a few minutes late, so I will have to leave in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
the
That's
system.
okay. That's okay. Chair, you've done a great job. We've come to the end of the session anyway. So on behalf of our brothers and sisters here, I'd like to thank you for a great job done.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to use my executive dictatorial power as the chair. What I'm going to request is from the three people, if you can take, okay, Joy, you haven't spoken yet, so I'll give you 2 minutes. And then the others, if you can take 30 seconds to a minute to just get your key point, and then we can have him respond to that, and then we'll close up.
Thank you for the opportunity, Chair. Thank you, Prof. Kwame, for the insightful presentation. What struck me about
it's brother Kwame. Thank you,
brother Kwame. Okay, sorry.
You.
What struck me about is that concept of composite capacities. And my question is, are they accessible in universities? Two, do they include indigenous knowledge? Or if not, where is indigenous knowledge located within this context? Thank you very much.
Wow, that was amazing. And it was not even 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Hold on. We're going to take all three questions. You can just maybe write them down, and then we'll go. So Congo Bongo and then Sister Tapua. You each have a minute each.
Yes, thank you. For me, I don't think it's necessarily a question, but I'll go quick. I think, yeah, I understand and understand, what we're saying, lack of this and lack of that. But again, as a Pan-African, I see, the world as our oyster, meaning, it's not just a continent, but it's, it's a very global, phenomenon. And so we, as Pan-Africans, we do have skills, everywhere in the continent and everywhere. And what we should campaign, to talk about campaign, we should campaign the EU, is a Eurocentric system. ECOWAS is all Eurocentric, so and so. They're all Eurocentric. They're all part of the racist, capitalist, and imperialist system, right? Including UN and WHO and whatever. And so my suggestion would be that to keep it real, to keep it grounded, in our roots and culture. Again, self-reliant, self-sufficient, self-sustaining, in the sense that we don't need to really grow. In a sense, it's not necessarily quantity at first, right? If you have one expert who can train and develop, within 5 years, we can have thousands of them, right? So it's not a lack as such. It's to go back to our original system of Ubuntu, right? Mahat Ubuntu, and yeah, and obviously again challenging. So it's always that balance of challenging what is legal, not to say lawful, once again, so that we can, crutch it, as much as we can while we are building, our true what we want to see, basically, and building the change that we want to see, right? So yeah, so I think it goes hand, I believe, I know it goes hand in hand. So it's not such a lack again. So it's about creating our own and challenging what is seen as the norm, because all those AU and ECOWAS, all those, they're not built really, from our original, system, Pan-African system. It's designed by those who are pulling the strings. So I give thanks.
Thank you so much. Before we go to the closing, I just wanted to remind the reminder that there's a proposed application that people want to stick around to discuss. So I think we'll do that after the recording has been stopped. I will only be able to listen to that, but I might contribute by text, but I'll be in my family meeting. So the floor is yours now. Oh, did we miss someone?
Yes, Tapua.
You missed
Sorry
Grace,
about that. Yes, please go ahead.
And Sister Tapua. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much to the brother who's just spoken before me, because that's almost the point that I wanted to cover. that we are in this position by design. So if we're going to try and improve within the context of the imperialist plan, we will not succeed. Because the fact that we have experts, I have family relations who have tried to come back into Africa to come back with their skills, but the system contrives against that. The system needs us to be subservient where they want us to be so that we don't make contribution in the continent. They'd rather have the skilled people driving taxis than come back to, because the rest of the world is dependent on us. And if we become woke to such an extent that we know where we are, we know who we are, we know what we want, then they will not survive. Their system will not survive. So, like my sister was saying at the beginning, Sister Portia, it's the system. We need to try and work our way out of the system, because we have people struggling to come and make contributions who are not accepted because the system does not want them here. It wants them outside where they have less influence. Because if they come in, if the brains come back, then Africa is reborn. We are united and we will not go back. But I think we need to get out of the system first. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sister Grace, you have 1 minute, and then we wrap up with the response.
Okay, thank you. What I was going to say has already been said by Sister Dapua, that things are by design. In my country, it's literally by design. People like us, like me, who trained outside the country, are not allowed to practice in the country. They want their own that they've trained themselves, but they only train a few at a time. And then, so it goes on, and then it will be, oh, we've got a shortage of this, shortage of that. I was going to also ask for the presentation that Brother Kwame has just shown us, if it's possible, so we can read more on it and read more on it. And the third one is what Brother Kwame also said, is that the thing we're not doing is us campaigning or doing something about whatever it is we're complaining about. And I would like us to explore on that one. Thank you.
Okay, you can respond now, and then I'm actually gone. So I'll be here listening, but I can't respond. But the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Because of time, it's already almost 9:15. We apologize, not part of our modus operandi. Let me respond very quickly on the question of composite skills that Sister Joy asked. So, yes, composite skills must be learned, but in terms of leadership, etc., you cannot learn leadership in isolation from leadership. By which I mean, the best way to learn how to cook is to cook. You can't be reading manuals of cooking and then you know how to cook. So, in other words, we need Africans in the highest leadership positions when it comes to technology, basically. So that is it. I think so your question was, what is it and how do we get it? So what is it? So those are the soft skills, like how to talk to people, how not to talk to people, how to motivate people, how to relate to people, the kind of Ubuntu thing we talk about. How do we get it? By practicing it. So that's my answer to that. Now, in terms of what Brother Congo Bongo said, we thank you for joining us, brother. I think it's the first time I've seen you. You may have joined before, but thank you so much for joining. Now, I would say that although the AU documents don't use the word Ubuntu, I think there's solidarity. What they call the SSE, the social solidarity economy, I think is an answer to that. Let me just share the slide again. So this one here. So the last point, the social solidarity economy, that's almost like saying Ubuntu, but not using the word. Yeah. And so that is that one. So I'm agreeing with both of them. And then in terms of what Sister Pua said, I would say, I don't think that's what you mean, but I feel, if that's correct, Sister Pua, that in a way what you are saying is agonizing about our situation. Rather, what we need is organizing, and that takes me to what Sister Grace said, that we have to look at how do we organize, because all the things we are worried about, we are concerned about, whether it's by design, not by design, all these things are known to us. We know all these problems. The problem is we are not doing anything about it. See, that is a problem. You know you have a problem. Yeah, but it's one thing to know and understand your problems, another thing to do something about your problem. You see, so we are not doing much about our problem. Some of us are even asking for the AU to be abolished. You know, however defective the AU is, there are things it can't do very well. But even what it can't do very well, we're not even getting that being done. So yeah, I will pause there. Thank you very much.
Okay, comrades, I think we will go to the announcement, Brother Kwame, if that's right.
Yes, that's fine. I'll
so
share.
Please
share
the topic for next week.
Topic, yeah.
And on Thursday, we will continue the consciousness reading, which we do for every Thursday for the last 4 years. So we read the Philosophy and Ideology of by Kwame Nkrumah, which is consciousness. We continue the motion, and that will continue on Thursday, same time, 6 p.m. GMT. On Monday, the Pan-African Reading Club continue their reading club, which is in chapter 9 of Dr. George Aitti's book. And on next Saturday, we are looking at cultural decolonization as resistance. Portia has offered to come forth to present on that. So we are looking forward to that presentation. If there's anybody who still also want to say something about that, please get in touch with me so that you can prepare in advance. The recordings are now available on our YouTube as usual, so you can check on our YouTube, the last week recordings, you can find them there for your personal review. All our sessions are recorded and stored on our YouTube channel, just for future references for anybody who might want to come back to them. We are still running our fundraiser, is still open. We haven't closed it officially. We are still raising almost 120 or 117 pounds to get the laptop we will need, but of course our Zoom is already subscribed to. And as we said before, I think I was clearing some other things this week. We will be setting up the Pan-African groups and the departments as we had agreed, and probably we'll discuss whether they'll have to have a virtual platform where they can cooperate and do their work. There's a lot of work you need to do, from research, from articles and journals, from all these areas of education or decolonization of education, from political front, what I'm trying to pass in political party and the interest to have political power to change other things. So we will be communicating that probably now, the start of this, because this week I was a bit held up. So that's what I would like to say. Once again, thank you all for your attendance, and may you feel free to leave. Probably, I think Sister Portia will be the one remaining to update us on the application we are doing in regards to ECOSOC as a KNT, which is the mother organization for Consciousness Study Group. So we will maybe have Sister Portia to discuss that. But thank you very much for your time, for your attention, and for your contribution to those who have contributed. Those who still want to contribute, get in touch with me so that we can finish up what is remaining. And to those who came for the first time, Sister Joy is happy to see you for the second time. Brother Congo is also happy to see you for the first time. Keep joining us, and all those who have been here, let's keep the spirit moving. Thank you very much for now, and may you have a lovely evening, morning, or night from wherever you are. Bye-bye for now.
Yeah, Brother Pigeon, just before they leave, so I have put the slide for today in the chat. Please feel free to download it before you go if you are interested. I think Sister Grace asked for it, so it's there. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for this evening. Bye-bye all. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You can stop the recording, but